So I was reading the other day and I came across a statistic that said over 70% of Americans are feeling more stress in the last 5 years than they felt in their entire life. And honestly, that kind of shook me to the core. Because I understand how stress can put a strain on your life. And it can affect you in a negative way in so many aspects. It can affect your health. It can affect your mental capacity. It can honestly make you more depressed in a variety of different ways. So when I read this statistic, it kind of drove me to go do some research on strategies to help people reduce their overall stress that they've been feeling. And also, not only that, help people identify what's stressing them out. Because if we can't identify our stressors, then how we expect ourselves to decrease the amount of stress that we're feeling? So the goal of this video is to overall create a strategic plan to reducing stress for people who find themselves overwhelmed on a day-to-day basis. So let's get to it. So the first thing I want to do is share some of the things that I found myself stressing out about over the last 5 years. Number one is going to be digital overload. I find myself stressing out because I'm consuming so much content. Is that through Facebook or YouTube or Instagram? And I see myself comparing myself to some of the influencers that I often see on those social media platforms. I might see someone cooking a meal and think, man, I wish I can cook that great. Or I might see somebody achieving a goal like running 5K in less than 30 minutes and think, man, I wish I can do that. But honestly, when I'm constantly absorbing all that digital content, the only thing that it does is put more stress on myself to achieve things that might not be achievable for me. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you're looking at the digital content in a realistic light. Number two, 24/7 notification. Honestly, I have my phone on me all day. I sleep with my phone on my nightstand. If I'm at work, I have my phone in my pocket. I'm constantly reachable. And that stresses me out because I never know when somebody's going to call me and say, hey, I need help with this. Or, hey, can you come do this for me? Having yourself be reachable 24/7 is something that is a constant stressor. And then the final thing that I think that can stress people out is a job and understanding how to balance work with your personal life. So all of these things could be adding to that stress that we're seeing in people's life. And what we want to do is kind of figure out how do we take all of these things that are helping me move at life in such a fast pace, absorb them, and then be able to reduce the amount of stress I feel from all of this incoming media. So what we see is stress is really not honestly just about workload. It's kind of about identity, the speed of life and its high pace, and then our ability to pay attention to things that we might not need to be paying attention to. And you may be asking yourself, yes, I do have all this stress, but why does that matter? And honestly, statistics say that people who carry a lot of stress are more likely to have health problems. They're also more likely to have high anxiety and go into depression. And honestly, they're even less likely to be creative and have a reduced amount of focus on any task that they're partaking in. So I'm here to tell you that managing stress is honestly going to equal to protecting your health and your performance in anything that you do. So tip number one for reducing stress is going to be detoxing from digital content. Honestly, what I found myself doing is using applications that automatically stop me from being able to access apps on my phone after a certain time. So around 8 o'clock at night, I have it set to where I can't go on Facebook any night. And I can't go down the rabbit hole of scrolling through TikTok shorts all night. I make sure that that application shuts down all of those social media apps so I can't get to them. Another thing that I do is an hour before bedtime, I shut down my phone, right? And I make it to where only my emergency contacts can reach me after a certain amount of time. I don't want to constantly be able to be reached 24/7 a day because that's just going to lead to more stress in my life and it's going to cause me to not be able to relax. Number three, I designate offline times. And that offline time for me is going to be that hour before I'm going to bed. That's when I take a deep breath, I do yoga, I de stress during that time, and that's my designated offline zone. I'm just going to disconnect from the internet, from social media. I use that to take time to reflect, refresh, and just detox all the negative things that come along with social media. And one thing I do want to say is this isn't a forever thing. This is just a small unplug so that you can recharge from today and kind of detox from all of those things that social media brings. The second tip I want to talk about is taking small, mindful micro breaks. So, what is a micro break? Honestly, it's building in 2 to 5 minutes throughout your day where you can just take a second to reset, refresh. I normally use those 2 to 5 minutes to stretch, take deep breaths, maybe go for a walk. Sometimes when I'm at work, I use that 2 or 5 minutes to just go outside and take in some fresh air. But I'm constantly setting in small micro breaks to make sure that I'm not getting overwhelmed or too overconsumed from the work that I'm partaking in that particular moment. Tip number 3 is to use movement as medicine. And this particular strategy is something that helped me out a ton. Whenever I get stressed or overwhelmed, I find myself going to the gym. And when I'm working out, I find myself honestly being the most creative I've ever been throughout the day. I find myself as I'm lifting heavy weights, I'm almost lifting stress off of myself. Going to the gym is something that helps me relieve my stress throughout the day. And you don't have to have a gym membership to get the moving. Honestly, going to a walk throughout your neighborhood can be something that helps you release stress. Taking 10 minutes to do yoga or taking 10-15 minutes to do Pilates. Movement is medicine. I promise you. It's going to make you feel so much better and it's going to help you get rid of so much stress in your life. Moving daily and finding some type of exercise that you enjoy is honestly going to be the key to unlocking how you can reduce stress on a day-to-day basis. I promise you, try it and you'll eventually start to love it. So tip number 4 is do an emotional check-in with yourself throughout the day whenever you find yourself getting too stressed out or too overwhelmed. And nowadays I find myself asking 3 questions to myself whenever I feel stressed. Where is this stress coming from? Why am I feeling stressed out? And what can I do to help myself relieve this stress? And normally at work, I do a few things. Sometimes I go for a quick walk, or sometimes I go outside and I catch fresh air, or sometimes I just call somebody I really enjoy talking to, and they help me get into a better mood. And normally, once I do these things to help release the stress, I come back and I attack the project that I'm working on, and I find myself being able to find new solutions that I wasn't thinking about before. So make sure you're checking in and relieving that stress whenever you first encounter it, and don't wait till later to try and reflect on what happened. Attack it in the moment. Tip number 5 is going to be reclaim your evenings. I've learned that the best way for me to reduce stress is that at the end of the day, I'm partaking in things that I know I love and enjoy. So lately I've been reading science fantasy books and I've been getting deeply engaged in it, and to the point where it just takes my mind out of the current moment and I'm just enjoying myself as I read the book. Sometimes I do a exercise that helps me relieve stress. And at other times, I just call a family member. I call my mom and I check up on her and ask her how she's doing. Or I call and speak to my brother and just let him know that I miss him. I do these things in the evening that helps me relieve the stress. Sometimes I talk it out. I go and reflect on my day and I say, hey, did I achieve what I wanted to achieve? Did I do it in an efficient manner? And if I did, then all I can do is know I did my best, and whatever comes with that is what comes with that. Reclaim your evenings, reflect, and do things that help you refresh. So look, stress is always going to be a part of our lives, no matter what we do and no matter how hard we work. But what we can do is identify that stress in a moment and find ways to instantly relieve that stress so it doesn't linger and it doesn't find itself working to other parts of your life and slowly making you into someone you don't recognize. So I ask that you constantly practice these steps in order to help yourself reduce the stress. And then I also challenge you to leave in the comment one thing that you do personally to help relieve stress. And maybe it'll help somebody else in the comments and touch them in a way that you don't recognize. So hopefully this video helps you out, and I'll see you next time.